All right, in the last section, 8.6, we talked about owning and purchasing a vehicle, right? We calculated what the monthly payment of your vehicle would be depending on how much the car cost, your interest rate, and how long you were going to have the loan for. In this section, 8.7, we're going to talk about the cost of owning a home. So you can lease or rent a home, or you can purchase a home. Now, most of the time, in order to purchase a home, you need to take out a long-term loan, which is called a mortgage. So in this section, we're going to talk about down payments and mortgage amounts, and then how to calculate the loan payment or the mortgage payment each month depending on your mortgage. So again, a mortgage is a long-term loan for the purpose of buying a home. A down payment is the portion of the sales price of the home that the buyer initially pays to the seller. Most of the time, they try to have you qualify for 20% of the sales price of the home as the down payment. So you need to make sure that you have 20% of the price of the home to put down in cash before you can even qualify to take out a mortgage. Now, sometimes they do work with you on that, but depends on your bank and your financial history. The amount of your mortgage is the difference between the sales price and the down payment. So let's say you put down $30,000 down payment. Well, that's taken off the price of the house, and then your mortgage is the difference. And so your payment will be based on the leftover amount. Some companies called mortgage brokers offer to find you a mortgage lender willing to make you a loan. Now you can take out a couple different types of mortgages. One is called a fixed rate mortgage. It has the same monthly payment for the entire time of your loan, which means it's based on the same interest rate for the whole entire time. Your interest doesn't change, your payment doesn't change. Or you can do a variable rate mortgage, known as an adjustable rate mortgage or an ARM, where your payments could change from time to time depending on the interest rate. So as the interest rate goes down, your payment goes down. But as the interest rate goes up, your payment goes up, which could get you into trouble. So you've got to be careful with the variable rate mortgages. Most lending institutions require the buyer to pay one or more points at the time of closing. That is the time at which the mortgage begins. So in addition to closing costs and fees, application fees, lawyers' fees, stuff like that, they might also require you to put down a certain amount of points or money to lower your interest rate. A point is a one-time charge that equals 1% of the loan amount. So for example, 2 points means that you must pay 2% of the loan amount at closing before you can actually get your keys and move into your new home. A document called the Truth in Lending Disclosure Statement shows the buyer the APR for the mortgage. In addition, lending institutions require that part of your monthly payment be deposited into an escrow account. That's an account used by the lender to pay real estate taxes, insurance, stuff like that. So you have a monthly payment, and a portion of that monthly payment goes to an escrow account. Now, we can figure out the monthly payment, just a basic monthly payment depending on your mortgage, using the same payment formula we used for the payment of a car. Remember, the P is the dollar amount that you've loaned, or you're getting from the loan. The R is your interest rate as a decimal. The N is the number of times a year you're going to make this payment. So normally it's every month, so 12. And then T is the number of years you're going to have this mortgage for. You could typically choose from a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage. Let's do an example, walking through a basic problem, talking about down payments and mortgages, maybe some points at closing, and then maybe what your payment and what your interest amount would be. Example number 1 says the price of a home is $195,000. The bank requires a 10% down payment and 2 points at the time of closing. The cost for the home is financed with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 7.5%. It's asking us to do a couple things. The first one is to find the required down payment. Remember, it says here that the down payment is 10%. Remember, that's 10% of the price of the home, 10% of $195,000. So that's what we need to do. We need to figure out what 10% of $195,000 is by taking that $195,000 and multiplying it by 10%, or 0.10. That'll give us our down payment. So before you can even qualify to get this home, you need to make sure that you have $19,500 to put down as your down payment. Now the second part says, what's the amount then of your mortgage? Since you put down the $19,500, your home amount is now less, right? It's $19,500 less of the original. So if I take the original amount of $195,000 and take off my down payment, subtract the $19,500, well then my mortgage amount is the difference. $175,500 would be my mortgage amount. This is the amount then that my payment will be based on. Part C says how much must be paid for the 2 points at closing. Remember, it said in the problem that there was 2 points required at closing. That's the same as 2% of the cost of your mortgage. So I'm going to take the $175,500 and multiply it by 2%, or 0.02, to figure out how much I have to bring to closing for those points. I need to have an additional $3,510 due at closing for those points. That might be in addition to other types of closing costs. In these problems, we're not going to worry about that, but we're just going to talk about the mortgage amount and the payment from there. So Part D asks us to find the monthly payment. So this is excluding any sort of escrow, fees, taxes, anything like that. We're just going to base it on the mortgage amount. Remember, the mortgage amount was that $175,500. We're going to plug all of our information into our payment formula. So hopefully you have your formula sheet out and you can plug in all of the values into that payment formula. Our amount of our mortgage, remember, was the $175,500. Remember, our interest rate was 7.5, so as a decimal, 0.075. We're going to make this payment every month, so my N is 12. And remember, it said here that the loan was going to be for a 30-year mortgage. So that's where I got the 30 from here. All right, so in the last section, I showed you how to input this payment formula into your calculator, whether you had a scientific calculator or a graphing calculator. Make sure that you pause the video, put this in your calculator to ensure that you still know how to put it in correctly so you can get the correct answer. Let's figure out what our monthly payment is going to be for this home. I ended up getting $1,227.12. So this will be my monthly mortgage payment. This will be the payment that I have to send to my bank every single month for the next 30 years to pay off my home. All right, the last part of this question says find the total interest paid over those 30 years. So remember, our payment is the $1,227.12. We're going to make that payment every single month, so times 12. But I'm going to do that every single year for 30 years. So I'm going to multiply that by 30 now. If I make that payment every single month for 30 years, at the end of those 30 years, I'm going to end up paying $441,763.20. That's the total amount that I gave to my bank. Now remember, the amount of the home or mortgage was $175,500. So if I take that off, then the rest of it, the difference, is how much I actually paid in interest just to the bank. So again, I paid a total of $441,000, but $175,000 went to the actual home. The rest of it, $266,263.20, I just paid in interest. So if you look at those numbers, you paid almost double in interest than you did what your actual home was worth. Whew, that's a lot of extra money, right? But most of us have to take out that long-term loan because we don't have $175,000 cash laying around to pay for the home in full. So we end up paying a lot of money in interest in order to take out that mortgage loan and pay that every month for the next 30 years. Kind of interesting.